In this module, we will be learning about the hybridization experiments conducted by Mendel to arrive or discover his laws of inheritance. Mendel, or Gregor Johann Mendel, played a vital role in discovering the laws of heredity. He conducted several hybridization experiments on Pisum sativum or garden peas using true breeding or pure lines, which exhibited sharply contrasting characters. Did I mention true breeding or pure lines? What do you mean by these words? Pure line means those who are pure for a character. Or in simple words, when true breeding organisms are crossed, it gives rise to offsprings of their own trait and no other trait is expressed. And that is the meaning of true breeding or pure lines. So Mendel took true breeding pea plants in order to conduct his hybridization experiments. So let us look into a hybridization experiment conducted by Mendel. Mendel conducted a cross between a true breeding tall plant and a true breeding dwarf plant. Now just look into these two plants. What do they differ? Or how do they differ? They differ in a single character. What is that character? They differ in the height of the plant. So such a cross in which they differ only in a single character is called as a monohybrid cross. So monohybrid cross is a type of cross in which we study the inheritance of a single character, and that type of cross is called as a monohybrid cross. And Mendel called the tall and the dwarf plant as parental generation, or he denoted them as the P generation or the parental generation. So he crossed the tall and the dwarf plant, and we know the product of a cross or a fertilization is seeds. So he collected the seeds and raised the offsprings. And the plants raised from this cross is called as the F1 or the first filial generation. So first filial generation is the offsprings obtained by a cross between the parents, a true breeding tall plant and a true breeding dwarf plant. He found that all the plants in the F1 hybrid were tall. That means only one parental trait was expressed. And then where did the other parental trait disappear? Okay, so in order to find an answer, he conducted similar hybridization or crossing between the pea plants with different contrasting traits. And he got certain observations. He found that in all the crosses conducted, only one parental trait was observed and the other parental trait was completely disappearing. Is it clear? So next, in the second step, he conducted self-pollination of the F1 hybrids. He conducted self-pollination of the F1 hybrids. And again, he collected the seeds and raised the next generation. And the generation which is obtained by selfing the F1 hybrids are called as the second generation or the second filial generation, or it is called as the F2 generation. It's called as the F2. Interestingly, he found that all the offsprings in the F2 were not only tall. The missing trait in the F1 reappeared in the F2 generation, and that too in a specific proportion. 3/4 of the F2 hybrids were tall and only 1/4 of the F2 hybrids were dwarf. So both the parental traits reappeared in the F2 generation. And the second observation he received was that both in F1 and F2 there was no blending of characters. There was no blending of traits. Only the hybrids were either tall or dwarf. No intermediate height was observed. And with all these observations, Mendel arrived at certain assumptions. He told that something was stably transferred without any change from the parents to the offsprings through the gametes over successive generations. So factors are responsible for the transfer of characters from the parents to the offsprings through the gametes, and this takes place over successive generations. And these days, factors are called as Genes. So genes are the unit of inheritance and it contains the information which is needed for the expression of a trait in an organism. Genes which code for a pair of contrasting traits is called as alleles. So genes which code for a pair of contrasting traits is called as alleles, or slightly different forms of the same gene is called as alleles. So dear children, in this module we learnt about the monohybrid cross which helped Mendel to understand or study the inheritance of a single gene, and that is called as a monohybrid cross. And through this monohybrid cross, he understood that something or the factors helped or is responsible for the transfer of characters from parents to the offsprings through the gametes, and these factors do not go on any change, and this transfer takes place without any change over successive generations. Thank you.